Hey, what's up, everybody? In case you haven't heard, in case you've been living underneath a rock, Christian McCaffrey has been traded to the Niners. The Panthers, they traded Christian McCaffrey to the Niners for a second round, a third round, a fourth round, and fourth round pick for next in the 2023 draft, and a fifth round pick in the 2024 draft. So basically, this is the Panthers' way of saying we have given up. They're the worst team in the league right now. They have the worst record. It's very likely that they'll go down as at the end of the season with the worst record. They look like they're the worst team in the league right now, and this is essentially like a backdoor tank if you really think about it. It's really, I mean, you're not deliberately losing games, but you're making moves that will make you more likely to lose games. And good for them, by the way. Good for them. Good for them. This is a smart move on their part. They have no use keeping Christian McCaffrey. There's no point in spending all this money on him if you're just going to be the worst team in the league. I mean, what's the point? I mean, you might as well just trade all the really good players. I might do that with DJ Moore too. I don't know. I have no indication that they will do that, but it would make sense if they would. It would make sense to do that considering they did this with McCaffrey. So for the Panthers, it's a good move. It makes sense to want the draft picks. I mean, I'm not saying it's very likely to work out for them. I mean, it's just the second. It's just a second, third, and fourth and fifth round pick. None of those picks are likely to do that much, but maybe it will. And it really can't get much worse than it is now if you're the Panthers. So just from their standpoint, from their perspective, it just makes sense. I mean, once you're on the bottom, I mean, you can't really get much lower than what they are. So, I mean, they're 1-5. So it can't be much worse than that. But in terms of how it affects the Niners, this is a really good move for the Niners. And it's interesting because they're in possibly the most competitive division in football right now. The NFC. All the teams are 3-3 except the Cardinals, who are 3-4. It's interesting because I think this really affects how good the Niners are in a way that it wouldn't affect many other teams, because they're good enough to the point where it looks like they can be the best team I mean, I personally would have said they were probably the best team in the NFC West beforehand, but it makes it even more likely that that's the case. But they're not so good to the point where it doesn't affect them very much. I mean, look at the Chiefs, for instance. They lost Tyreek Hill. They're basically in the same place that they were last year. Everybody's freaking out. Oh, they lost Tyreek Hill. They're in the same position now, essentially, that they were last year. They're still one of the favorites to win the AFC, other than the Bills. They're the second favorite behind the Bills. I mean, the Chiefs are just so good and so reliant on their quarterback that losing Tyreek Hill didn't even affect that much. But if you look at a team like the Niners, where they can't be too reliant on their quarterback, they can't throw the ball too much, because when they throw the ball too much and they're too reliant on Garoppolo, they lose. And they run the ball a lot. They run the ball more than most teams. They're 10th in rushing attempts in the NFL this year. So given that they already have Deebo Samuel, and given the fact that they're a team that is good because of the entire cast of that team, adding a guy like Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, I think, is a lot more impactful than it would be if if many other teams were to get him. If the Bills got him, the Bills are okay. They go from the favorites to win the Super Bowl, the favorites to win the AFC, to the favorites to win the AFC, and the favorites to win the Super Bowl. It's like the same thing. I just think this is interesting because it goes to show you that this is as impactful of a move as it could have been. Not for the Panthers, because they stink, but for the team getting McCaffrey, it's as impactful as it could have been, because the NFC West, it's totally up in the air. I mean, I understand it's, Geno Smith's the quarterback for the Seahawks and the Rams stink this year and it looks like a lost season, but anything could happen at this point for the NFC West. And you never know. The Niners have lost to some pretty bad teams. I do like the Niners, but they've lost to some pretty bad teams. So you never know how the chips might fall. So getting McCaffrey, the Niners had to do it. It makes perfect sense. They're in win now mode. They were in They were in the NFC Championship game last year, and I think they're just trying to, just rely on their run game a lot. Take pressure off Garoppolo. Don't be too reliant on Garoppolo, and just see where it takes them. So, and as far as the Panthers, I don't know. Good luck, I guess. Trade more of your team, and just maybe if you trade enough players, you could just get the whole draft. All right, peace.